can work.
Some of what you have said reminds me of what little I know about yoga practices, especially the deep breathing and some of the what I guess you would call chanting or intonation work. And it sounds like what you're describing, the techniques themselves, not the different what you would call theories or like a Reiki or a quantum touch, but just the techniques themselves. They sound like they must have been around forever, that they must have been practiced in ancient cultures, because a lot of the details that are coming out now in some of these excavations, I know about the Bosnian pyramids and Sam Osmanagich that's excavating over there. There's a lot of energy that they are measuring with some of their scientific instruments, and people go down into the tunnels and come out, and they've done Carillion photography, as you mentioned, and there might be a spot, a gap in an aura, say around someone's knee joint or around a shoulder, and after 2 hours down in the tunnels, they come out and they take another photo, and there's no gap there, and nothing changed except for that person went down into that tunnel where they're measuring this unique energy. So this must be something pretty ancient. Do you know, could you speak to that?
Yes, it's definitely correct. And, as far back as we know, there's always been energy work in all forms. I think that we just didn't have names for it. Like today, people are bringing it back and assigning names for it so that our culture can accept it. I think, a long time ago, people just thought energy was woo-woo or, not a good area because that's what they had been taught. That's what they see on TV or on the media. And not to say that areas like that didn't exist or do exist, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the energy that's all around us, the energy of the earth and nature and plants and everything as it is. The crystals, for instance, deep in the earth, and the electromagnetic energy, that grounding energy. When the frequency is high enough, as we said, with resonance and entrainment, the frequency comes up high enough and the area becomes 100%. And can it hold it? If it can hold it, then yes, that healing will stay, forever. And if not, then the person maybe has to do more work. But even the crystals in the earth have been proven, to be an immense source of energy. They're used in different machines now. They're used in watches to run your watch. They're an immense source of energy. But people at one time, of course, thought, that's, something scary or not to be worked with. But I believe that's just what they were taught. And now, we know that different stones of the earth, different places on the earth, different crystals, vortexes, unsurmountable amounts of areas and places and things that create the frequencies that are actually here for our healing. Even in the courses that I've taken in the past, in energy psychology, spiritual psychology, we know that there are hertz for everything, and there are frequencies for everything if a person wants to become specific. And a lot of them are named, for different hertz, and the electromagnetic energy on the earth, brought about by power poles and, phones and microwaves and those type of frequencies are distorted, in a sense, to our frequency. And that's what creates, the problem in our bodies, the electromagnetic frequencies compared to the naturally occurring EMFs, which are us, or the earth energies. These disorganized energies weaken, although, we're grateful and glad that we've progressed to this place. They weaken living matter. They're not harmonious waves, you could say, with our energy fields. So we know that the earth vibration is 7.83 hertz. And these other frequencies, in a sense, scramble it. And people do feel it. We can use a frequency. People have heard of the music, the Schumann resonance, that music, and some other vibrational music I have on my website, allows the frequency to come up and heal the body, especially if we're working on a computer. We have to talk on cell phones all the time. It allows the frequency to come up because it is affecting us. It is affecting the Earth's vibration long term. And there are actually things you can do to see this, to show this. If you're not familiar, you can, what we call a simple form of learning muscle testing. You can have a person hold their arm out to the side and just gently press and let the person see how strong they are. Don't press hard. Just let them see how strong they feel. And then have them hold a cell phone against their chest. And I myself can press a strong man's arm down with one finger when they're holding that cell phone. And this is what we carry, on our body most of the time. So that's pretty powerful information. And to know that it's all around us, all the time. And then wondering, why we feel drained and why we can't think well and why cells of our body are being manipulated, to a place of, cancers and things like that, that we never expected, to rise to this amount of frequency, in our ever-changing society as it is, right?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned cell phones. What about people such as myself and our producer who sit in front of a computer screen all day long? How does that affect us?
Pretty much the same way. I mean, you can get, I would have to check the name of a person that I did study with before in biobiology, and they do have screens that you can use now to ground yourself, in a sense, to keep your polarity balanced, get your energy down into the earth. And there's actually a few websites. I don't remember them right at the moment. I would have to, you'd have to email me if someone's interested, and I will get them to you. Mm-hmm. I actually, it's a form of a crystal that you can purchase and put it on your computer through the quantum balance crystal people. You can put it on your computer or on your cell phone, and it deflects the energy away from you. It points it in another direction. And I think supposedly grounds some of the energy. I wouldn't want to say exactly what it does because I don't have it in front of me, but I do notice a difference, when I use it. They have them for cell phones, computers. They even have mats that you can put now under your feet when you're working on the computer, and even in your bed, at the foot of your bed, to ground you while you're sleeping, because that's the time that our immune system is the weakest. And, the springs in our bed, if people have springs in their bed, if they have electrical outlets in their bedroom, if they have the cell phone, the LED clock, the computer, all these things, you're still absorbing that while you're sleeping. So I have been taught to flip the switch and turn off that energy, at least while you're sleeping, so that you're not absorbing it, and use these tools for wellness. Since we, are on the computers and cell phones so much, you can wear a pendant that emits, the crystal pendant balances your energy field, grounds you, and creates a sense of frequency around you so that you're not absorbing all of that energy. That's kind of it. That way I'm not tired at the end of the day.
It is tiring.
I have the capacity to work and talk for very long periods of time, so I've been told. And I think that's part of the reason why I do use them and I do practice, all the things that I talk about, because I feel I have to. And if I don't do it, let's say 3 or 4 days go by and I don't do it, I really feel the difference. So yes, you're right.
And I'm guessing when we talk about cell phones, it's not just that you're holding it up to your head. I'm thinking of my nephew and my nieces that have these smartphones in their hands about 1.5 feet from their nose, and they're there all day long like that. So that would have the same effect, right?
Yes, and actually one of the top cancers now is the thyroid and the jaw. And the whole top of the head area around the ear. And I've worked with quite a few people recently who, have developed tumors in these areas, and of course we can't say 100% because it's everything. And what happens is you realize it's not specifically the product or anything else. It's the fact that that area of the body, the frequency there of your body has gone down. And it can only hold it for so long, and the more that we bombard it, the lower the frequency goes. So when you're staring at this all day long, in a sense, you're taking in that radiation. And we know what long-term radiation does.
Yeah, there's probably a couple of generations of us that are being used as guinea pigs to see exactly what the impact of too much screen time is. Forget about the video games, just screen time in general, because we started in the 50s and 60s being glued to a TV set, and then the computers came out, and we've been glued to those screens. So we'll just see in about another 20 years what happens to all of us. I had a guest on Constantina a few months ago who's an expert in a group. As a matter of fact, they're in Cheektowaga, New York. It's called Impact America, and they have a lot to do with trying to educate people about the impact of electromagnetic pulses, whether it's from solar flares or man-made devices or whatever, and how that could literally just fry the electrical and the electronic infrastructure in the country if it was placed high enough to cast that shadow of impact. What would everything that I've read, and I believe I asked the person this in the interview, they say that it's not supposed to harm a person physically, but if we're talking in terms of energy, I don't see how it couldn't have some kind of impact on a person. Do you know anything about that?
Technically, no. I can't say that I've studied it or read about it specifically, but I guess the way that I look at things intuitively is if it's not made, God-made, if it's man-made, it's not the same frequency as we are. And not that we don't appreciate and are grateful, for the advances we've made, but when you're talking electronics, I mean, you go out there and stand under it and see how you feel, and then go stand at the beach and see how you feel.
And I guess you would go ahead.
Excuse me. I said people have told me, they feel the difference, and nowadays people are. I mean, every single person you meet. I mean, so many people, majoritively, are on different medications for depression and anxiety and just feeling crazy. Not to be confused with, yes, it is everything, especially the food they eat and the deficiencies that they came here with. But when you're bombarded by all these other energies like that, it can't help but affect the air, the atmosphere, and right on down to us, below. Like you said, years ago, we were outdoors. The children were outdoors playing on the earth. Our mother said, get out after breakfast, and you didn't come home till dinner. And you've seen the change in people nowadays since they've come indoors out of the earth. The sun